Hello, and welcome to my channel. Today's story is quiet, painful, and full of small moments that changed everything. It will also help you improve your English through natural conversation and real emotions. As you listen, picture every room, every look, and every silence. This is the story of a man who kept a secret for too long and learned that some truths cannot stay buried forever. My name is Daniel. I am 34 years old, and I live in a small brick house in Portland, Oregon. My neighborhood is quiet. There are wet streets, tall pine trees, and coffee shops on almost every corner. People here move slowly. They smile at strangers. They wave from their porches. From the outside, my life looks steady. I work at an architecture firm downtown. I have a wife who is beautiful and clever. Her name is Rachel. She is 31 years old, and she has warm brown eyes that always seem to be searching for something. We have been married for 3 years. People often tell me I am a lucky man. They don't know what I have been carrying inside me since the day I said, I do. Every night, I lie beside Rachel and listen to her breathing. She sleeps peacefully, one hand resting near her cheek. I stare at the ceiling for hours. My chest feels tight. My throat feels dry. Because there is something Rachel doesn't know about me. Something I promised myself I would tell her before the wedding. Then I never did. Now 3 years have passed, and the secret has grown so heavy that I can barely lift my head in the morning. Let me go back to the beginning. 4 years ago, I met Rachel at a small bookstore near the river. It was raining. I was searching for a book about old churches in Europe. She was sitting on the floor between 2 shelves, reading a poetry book with a soft green cover. She laughed when I nearly stepped on her foot. Sorry, I said quickly. It's okay, she smiled. This is a good place to get stepped on. That was our first conversation. 10 minutes later, we were sharing coffee at a small cafe next door. 2 hours later, she gave me her phone number. 2 weeks later, I knew I was in love. Rachel was different from every woman I had ever met. She was gentle, but she was also strong.
She spoke her mind.
She noticed small things. She once told me, people show you who they are in the little moments. That's when they forget to hide. I remember those words now, because I forgot to hide many times, and she noticed each one. She just never said anything. 6 months after we met, Rachel asked me a question that would change everything. We were sitting on the roof of her apartment, watching the sun disappear behind the hills. Daniel, she said, have you ever done something you deeply regret? I froze. I could feel my heart beating against my shirt. Why do you ask? I said, trying to sound calm. She looked at me carefully. Because I want to marry someone who has no secrets from me. My father spent his life lying to my mother. I don't want that kind of marriage.
I should have told her right then.
I should have said, Rachel, there is something you need to know about me. Instead, I smiled. I'm the most honest man you've ever met. She laughed and kissed my cheek. She trusted me completely. That was the first time I truly betrayed her. The truth was this. 2 years before I met Rachel, I was engaged to another woman. Her name was Claire. We were together for 5 years. We planned everything. The wedding, the house, the future. 3 months before our wedding, Claire discovered she was very sick. The doctors used a long word I still cannot say without pain. She fought for 8 months. Then she was gone. I did not tell Rachel about Claire. Not because Claire was a shameful secret. Because I was afraid. I was afraid Rachel would feel like a replacement. I was afraid she would look at me and wonder if I was still in love with a ghost. I was afraid the sadness in my past would poison the happiness in my future. So I hid Claire. I removed her photos from my apartment. I asked my old friends never to mention her. I told my family, if Rachel ever asks about her, please say nothing. Then I married Rachel with a heart that still had a locked room inside it. I thought the lock would hold. I was wrong. The strange thing started about a year ago. Small things. Rachel began asking questions she had never asked before. Daniel, why do you never talk about your 20s? Why don't you have any photos from before we met? Why does your mother look uncomfortable every time I mention old friends? I gave her simple answers. I told her my 20s were boring. I told her I had lost my old phone with all the pictures. I told her my mother was just shy. Rachel would nod slowly and change the subject. But I saw the look in her eyes. She was collecting pieces. One rainy evening in October, I came home from work and found Rachel sitting at the kitchen table. There was a cup of tea in front of her, but she wasn't drinking it. She was just staring at the steam. "Hey," I said gently. She looked up. Her eyes were red. "Bad day?" I asked. "Something like that." I sat down across from her. "Do you want to talk about it?" "Not tonight." That was strange. Rachel always wanted to talk. Silence was not her language. That night, she went to bed early. When I climbed under the blanket beside her, she turned her back to me for the first time in 3 years. I did not sleep. I stared at her shoulder in the dark, and I felt something shift between us. Something quiet and cold. The next morning, she smiled and made pancakes as if nothing had happened. But I noticed she avoided my eyes. Something had changed. I just didn't know what. A few days later, I came home earlier than usual. My meeting had been canceled. The house was quiet. I called her name. "Rachel." No answer. I walked upstairs slowly. Our bedroom door was slightly open. I could hear her voice inside. She was talking to someone on the phone. "I don't know how to ask him," she was saying. "Every time I try, he changes the subject."
Pause.
"No, I'm not sure. But I have a feeling I can't ignore anymore." Another pause. "I love him, Emma. I really do. But if he is hiding something this big, I need to know." My hand froze on the door.
Who was she talking about?
Was she talking about me? I stepped back quietly and went downstairs. I made noise on purpose so she would hear me. A minute later, she came down. Her cheeks looked warm, as if she had been crying. "You're home early," she smiled. "Yeah, meeting canceled." She kissed my cheek and started making dinner. That night I could not eat. I could barely speak. Something felt wrong. Something felt very wrong. The next weekend, Rachel told me she wanted to visit her sister Emma for a few days. Emma lived in Seattle. Rachel said she needed some sister time. "Of course," I said.
Go.
"Rest a little." She hugged me at the door. She held on longer than usual. "Daniel," she whispered, "if there is ever anything you want to tell me, please tell me. It's not too late." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She stepped back and looked at me for a long moment. "Nothing. I just love you." Then she was gone. I stood in the doorway for a full minute after her car disappeared around the corner. The house was too quiet. That first night alone, I couldn't sleep. I walked from room to room like a ghost. Around 2 a.m., I found myself standing in front of the small closet in my office. There was a wooden box hidden behind old files. I hadn't opened it in 3 years. Inside were photographs of Claire. I sat on the floor and looked at each one. Claire on the beach. Claire laughing at a birthday cake. Claire holding a little dog we found in the park. I felt tears on my face. Not because I was still in love with her. That love had ended a long time ago. I cried because I had let fear turn her memory into a secret. She deserved better than that. Rachel deserved better than that. I closed the box, and I made a decision. When Rachel came home, I would tell her everything. But life has strange timing. The next afternoon, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello. Is this Daniel Foster?" "Yes." "This is Dr. Morgan from Riverside Hospital. Your wife was in a small car accident this morning. She's okay, but we need you here as soon as possible." The phone almost fell from my hand. An hour later, I was running through the hospital hallway. My heart was pounding so loud, I could hear it in my ears. When I found her room, I stopped at the door. Rachel was sitting up in bed. Her arm was in a sling. There was a small bandage above her left eye. But she was alive. She looked at me. For a second, her face was full of relief. Then something else replaced it. Something guarded. "Daniel," she said softly. I rushed to her side and took her hand. "Are you okay? What happened? Who was driving? Where's Emma?" She looked down at our hands. "Daniel, we need to talk." "Not now," I thought. "Please, not now." "After you rest," I said. You need to rest first. She shook her head slowly. When the car hit us, I thought I was going to die. Do you know what I thought about? I couldn't answer. I thought about the questions I never asked you. I thought about the doubts I've been carrying for a year. I don't want to live one more day with them. If I had died today, I would have died not knowing my own husband. I felt cold from my head to my feet. Rachel. Who is Claire? The room went silent. I heard the machines. I heard someone laughing in the hallway. I heard my own heart beating.
How?
I couldn't finish the sentence. How did I find out? She said. 2 years ago, at your cousin's wedding. Your aunt drank too much wine. She said, Rachel, you look nothing like Claire, but Daniel loves you just the same. I laughed like it was a joke, but that night, I couldn't sleep. I closed my eyes. I searched online. I found an old obituary. I found her name next to yours in a newspaper article about a charity event. I found photos on a memorial page. Daniel, I have known about her for almost 2 years. 2 years. She had carried this for 2 years. Why didn't you say anything? I whispered. Tears began to fall down her cheeks. Because I kept waiting for you to trust me. I kept thinking, any day now, he will tell me. He will let me help him carry this. Every anniversary, every birthday, every quiet night, I waited, and you never told me. I felt my legs go weak. I sat down on the small chair beside her bed. Rachel, I am so sorry. I didn't want to be the woman who forced her husband to share his pain. I wanted him to choose me. I wanted him to choose us. I was scared, I said. My voice was breaking. I thought if I told you, you would feel like a replacement. I thought you would think I never really loved you.
She looked at me.
Her eyes were tired. Daniel, hiding her didn't protect me. It taught me that you didn't believe in me. Those words hit harder than any shout could have. I am so sorry, I said again. We sat in silence for a long time. Then she asked something I did not expect. Do you still love her? I took a slow breath. I loved her, and then I lost her. When I met you, that part of my heart began to heal. I love you, Rachel. Only you. But I was afraid to say her name, because I thought it would make our love feel smaller. I understand now that I was wrong. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Tell me about her, she said quietly. What? Tell me about Claire.
Right now.
Everything you were afraid to say.
So I did.
For the next 2 hours, in that small hospital room, I told my wife the whole story. How Claire and I met in college. How we planned to open a small bakery one day.
How she got sick.
How I sat beside her hospital bed for 8 months. How I promised her I would be okay, even though I didn't believe it. Rachel listened. She held my hand the whole time. When I finished, we were both crying.
Thank you, she said.
For what? For finally letting me into that room in your heart. I looked at her. Even bruised, even tired, she was the most beautiful person I had ever seen. I don't deserve you, I whispered. She squeezed my hand. Daniel, I don't need you to deserve me. I just need you to trust me. That's all I ever wanted. The doctor let Rachel come home 2 days later. Something between us had shifted, but I was afraid to name it. Was it broken? Was it stronger? Was it both? That first night home, she went to bed early. I sat in the living room for hours, not moving. Around midnight, I heard her voice from upstairs. Daniel, come to bed. I went up slowly. She was sitting against the pillows, a book resting on her lap. She patted the empty space beside her. I climbed under the blanket. She didn't turn her back to me this time. I need to tell you something, she said softly. I froze. When I was in the car yesterday, right before it hit us, I was thinking about leaving you. The room felt cold. I had a bag packed at Emma's house. I was going to stay with her for a month. I needed to decide if I could keep living with someone who didn't trust me. I couldn't speak. But then the car crashed, and I saw my life flash in front of me. And you know what I saw the most of? What? I whispered.
You.
Making coffee. Fixing my glasses. Reading beside me on the couch. Laughing at your own bad jokes. Daniel, I saw life with you, not without you. Tears rolled down my face. I still don't know if we will be okay, she said honestly. But I want to try. I want to try with a husband who tells me the truth, even when the truth is painful. I promise, I said. No more secrets. Not one. She nodded. Then we start from tonight. The weeks after that felt like walking on thin ice. Some days we laughed like nothing had happened. Other days, she would go quiet at dinner, and I knew she was remembering. I did not push her. I did not fill her silence with excuses. I simply sat with her. One Saturday, Rachel asked me to drive her somewhere.
She didn't tell me where.
We drove for almost an hour, up into the hills outside the city. She directed me to a small cemetery beside a white church. I understood before she said a word. Rachel. Where is she? Rachel asked gently. I led her along the small stone path. The wind moved softly through the trees. I stopped in front of a simple gray stone with Claire's name on it. Rachel stood beside me. She was holding a small bouquet of white flowers. I hadn't noticed her bring them from the car. She stepped forward slowly and placed the flowers at the base of the stone. Hi, Claire, she said quietly. I'm Rachel. I'm Daniel's wife. I wanted to come and meet you. I wanted to tell you thank you. Thank you for loving him. Thank you for shaping him into the man I fell in love with. I promise I will take good care of him. And I promise he will never hide you again. I put my face in my hands and cried like a child. Rachel put her arm around my shoulders. It's okay, she whispered. It's okay. When we walked back to the car, the sun was breaking through the clouds.
Portland does that sometimes.
It rains all morning, and then, without warning, the sky becomes gold. That day felt like that. Not because everything was suddenly perfect, because something honest had finally been allowed to breathe. Months passed. Life became gentler. Rachel and I started something new. Every Sunday evening, we would sit at the kitchen table with 2 cups of tea. One of us would ask a question, and the other one had to answer completely honestly. Sometimes the questions were simple. What did you love about your childhood? Sometimes they were harder. What is one thing you still haven't told me? At first, I was afraid of these conversations. Then, slowly, I started to look forward to them. Because for the first time in my adult life, I was not hiding a room. I was not carrying a locked box. I was just a man, sitting across from the woman he loved, letting her see all of him. One Sunday, Rachel took my hand across the table. Daniel, I have a question. Okay. Do you feel lighter? I thought about it. Yes, I said. I feel like I'm finally living in the whole house, not just some of the rooms. She smiled. Good. That's what I wanted for you. A year later, we became parents. A small girl with dark eyes and a strong voice. We named her Hope. Not because we needed to be reminded of hope, but because we wanted to thank it. Sometimes at night, I walk into her room and watch her sleep. And I think about the man I was 3 years ago, the man who hid a whole part of his life because he was afraid. I whisper to my daughter, even though she is too young to understand. Never be afraid of the truth, little one. It might shake the house, but it will also open the windows. Then I go back to my wife. I lie beside her. She reaches for my hand in her sleep, the way she always does now.
And I sleep. For real this time.
If you are listening to my story, and there is something you are hiding from someone who loves you, I want to say something to you. I know it feels safer to hold it in. I know you tell yourself, I am protecting them. But secrets are not gifts. They are walls. Every day the wall grows a little higher until one day, you cannot see the person you love on the other side. You do not have to be a perfect person to be loved. You have to be an honest one. If someone truly loves you, they can carry the weight of the truth with you. What they cannot carry is the loneliness of being lied to.
Speak.
Even if your voice shakes. Even if the room goes cold. Even if you are afraid they will leave. Because the person who stays after the truth is the person who is always meant to stay. Thank you for listening to my story today. I hope it reminded you that it is never too late to open the door you've kept locked. It might be scary. It might be painful. But on the other side of that door, there is a lighter life waiting for you. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a comment below, and share it with someone who needs to hear these words tonight. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep practicing your English, and remember, every honest word you speak is a small step toward a freer life.